Hey guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to continue on with our read-along of Guardian. Let's jump right into it. Sundial of Reincarnation, Chapter 11. Shunwei is on his way back from the cafeteria when he sees a scared Go Chang Chung standing at the entrance, poking his head in and not daring to enter. The fine black cat is squatting beside him, licking its shiny fur. Aren't you... Shunwei pauses for a moment, embarrassed. He realizes he was too fixated on someone else earlier. Excuse me, what's your name? Go Chang Chung startles, but quickly recovers when he recognizes Professor Shun. Go Chang Chung is much less nervous when faced with Shunwei. The professor doesn't give off the same vibes as Zhao Yunlan. He's more amiable, though he also carries an air of deeply ingrained restraint. This is probably the charm of such well-educated gentlemen. Whether he's dealing with a big figure like Zhao Yunlan or a small potato like him, he's always calm and reserved. I'm Go Chang Chung. Oh, young Officer Go. Shunwei smiles. What brings you here? Go Chang Chung hesitates. He isn't sure whether he can talk about his mission to someone else. He looks to Da Qing for a sign, but the black cat looks inscrutable. Da Qing facepaws. Does the boy want a cat to teach him how to talk to another human being? The brave and wise chief's conclusion really wasn't far off the truth. This intern is indeed a weirdo. Fortunately, Shunwei is tactful. Noticing Go Chang Chung's embarrassment, he changes his tone. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. This is none of my business. Go Chang Chung hangs his head in shame, although he doesn't quite know why he feels that way. Have you eaten? I bought quite a lot of food. You can have some if you want. Go Chang Chung is about to refuse, but his stomach disagrees. He hasn't eaten since he came to the SIU. As he is torn between decisions, Shunwei calls out to Da Qing, Come, kitty, I got you some milk. The doctor on duty is probably at dinner, so we'll just be quiet and remain unnoticed. Seeing that his mainstay Da Qing has already succumbed to the temptation of food, Go Chang Chung has no choice but to follow suit in confusion. Shunwei tries to get Go Chang Chung to open up and relax. You are quite young, Officer Go, around the same age as my students. I take it you haven't been working very long? Go Chang Chung replies honestly, It's my second day at work. Shunwei smiles. How does it feel to enter society? Terrible. But Go Chang Chung says with discretion, It's all right. Shunwei walks along the corridor of the school hospital alongside both man and cat. His eyes twinkle behind his glasses, and he continues naturally. Your colleagues and the chief, are they nice to you? Chief Zhao is quite nice to me. Oh, you've met him earlier today. As for my colleagues... Go Chang Chung grimaces a little as he's reminded of paper-faced Lao Wu and the unbeheaded ghost Wang Zheng, but he finally says, They're not bad either. Chief Zhao, Shunwei echoes. Is Chief Zhao busy all the time? Go Chang Chung scratches his head. I guess. I'm new, so I'm not sure. What do you think about him? He's quite nice. Shunwei looks at him. Then why do you seem afraid of him? Go Chang Chung is startled. Well, he's the chief after all. Shunwei chuckles. He knows he won't get anything about Zhao Yunlan from Go Chang Chung, so he stops torturing him. Together, they reach Li Qian's room. Shunwei seems to be quite used to taking care of others. He swiftly sets up the food and the utensils, heats up the milk in the microwave, takes the top off of the disposable lunchbox, and turns it over to pour more milk into it. He pushes it toward Da Qing. Come on, let's eat. Go Chang Chung is famished, but his appetite is still not strong. He never ate in the school cafeteria, not because the food was bad, but because he feels uncomfortable eating around strangers, and now he's in a ward with two strangers at the same time. Li Qian is even less interested in her meal. She seems very troubled and disoriented, and if the doctor hadn't said she was fine, Shunwei would think she's on drugs. Professor Shun realizes that when he stops talking, the only sound in the room is Da Qing licking the milk, so he asks Li Qian, Do you live locally or far away? If it's not far away, you should go home and rest for a few days. I can talk to your tutors. Li Qian pauses and puts down her chopsticks, then says softly, At home, my family is having a funeral. Many relatives have come, so there's no room for me. Shenwei freezes. Li Qian picks up her chopsticks and pokes at the rice. My grandma passed away 2 days ago. I'm sorry, Shenwei says at once. I shouldn't have asked. My condolences. Li Qian looks down and doesn't answer. She stuffs dry rice into her mouth. Shenwei takes a pair of extra chopsticks and puts some food in her bowl. I don't know what you like to eat, so I bought different kinds of food. Try to eat at least a little. Go Changcheng, who's been keeping his head low, suddenly says, My grandma always took care of me when I was small, but she passed away when I was 16, and I quit school for half a year. Shenwei and Li Qian look at him. He stays silent for a moment, then says with a melancholy voice, When I was a kid, I was always bullied at school. I didn't dare hit back, and I didn't even dare cry. When Grandma came to pick me up after school and found out, she'd tell me off for being so timid during the whole walk home. Then she'd take me to buy yogurt, chocolate, sweets, and the good vegetable buns. She'd give all the food to me. She wouldn't even eat it herself. I thought, when I grow up, I'll make money and I'll buy her stuff that she likes to eat, but I never got the chance. Li Qian is touched, and there are tears in her eyes. Go Changcheng continues as if talking to himself. She passed away in her sleep, and nobody even noticed at first. I always dreamed of her, from high school through to college, and she was always there to support me. Go Changcheng is desolate like a withering plant. Shenwei pats him on the head to comfort him. Go Changcheng smiles shyly, but the smile quickly wears away. When I graduated last September, I saw her one last time in a dream, and she said to me, You're all grown up now. I'm relieved, so I'm leaving. I asked her where she was going, and she just shook her head. And then I never dreamed of her again. My uncle said she must have reincarnated. Tears run silently down Li Qian's cheeks. What I mean is... Go Changcheng clumsily scratches his head. He's rather surprised that he managed to speak in full sentences for more than a minute. Hey, please don't cry. When my grandma was gone, I was devastated as well. I felt I could no longer be filial towards her in the future, so why study and work hard? I was even willing to trade my life for hers, but... I really shouldn't have said anything. What I mean is, don't be sad. Our deceased relatives are all watching us. He really shouldn't have said anything. Li Qian begins trembling and crying louder and louder, uncontrollably, until her limbs are quivering and her face goes blank. Shenwei rushes for the doctor. Oh no! Go Changcheng has never seen anyone so upset before and helplessly stands beside her. The school doctor doesn't have experience prescribing sedatives, so he suggests sending Li Qian to another hospital. Go Changcheng follows Shenwei to take Li Qian out of the school hospital. Sitting in Shenwei's car, holding a fragile, strange girl, he looks out at Dragon City University disappearing behind him and feels more and more that this thing called work is really awful. Second day on the job and he accidentally makes a girl cry. Shenwei isn't Li Qian's tutor, nor her counselor. He only teaches a few elective courses, but he benevolently takes on the responsibility. Go Changcheng has never seen such a kind-hearted professor before. Shenwei deals with registration and advance payment until Li Qian is in the emergency room. Then he contacts his colleagues at the university to ask about her situation and family contacts. Although Shenwei's tone remains relentlessly courteous, Go Changcheng can tell something's wrong. In his call to Li Qian's father, Shenwei stops abruptly halfway through a sentence, as if interrupted by the other. A few moments later, he puts the phone down helplessly, pinches the bridge of his nose, and makes another call. This happens a few calls in a row. From Go Changcheng's outsider perspective, it feels that Shenwei doesn't seem to be informing people of Li Qian's condition, but rather has to plead with each of them. In the end, it turns out that of Li Qian's parents, uncles, and aunts, none of them will come to see her. Even Go Changcheng is getting angry at this ordeal, cursing at them silently. Out of options, Shenwei hangs up the phone, crosses his arms, and frowns. With his broad shoulders, narrow waist, long legs, his tight long-sleeved shirt, and framed glasses on the bridge of his nose, he looks almost like a model from a perfume commercial. He stands there wordlessly. Go Changcheng thinks he must want to swear, but Shenwei says nothing. A moment later, Shenwei is still visibly worried, but he smiles at Go Changcheng. I'm sorry for causing you trouble today, young Officer Go. Why don't you go back now, and I'll take care of this student by myself. I don't want to get in the way of your work. I don't have work at the moment, Go Chang-chung mutters, staring at Da Qing's green eyes. Chief Zhao told me to follow her, but didn't tell me what to do, or when I should go back. Go Chang-chung begins to realize something about this mysterious mission. He's incompetent, but he's not actually stupid. Following a strange sick girl around isn't some challenging mission. The chief just wanted to get him out of the way. Of course, he has no ability and only adds to people's mess. He only got into the SIU because of his uncle. It's been less than 24 hours and already so much has gone wrong. Why would the chief want someone so useless around? Your Chief Zhao doesn't think like that, Shenwei says helplessly, though he's certain that Zhao Yunlan absolutely thinks like that. Don't think too much about this. Go Chang-chung folds in on himself, depressed. After a while, the doctor comes out and tells them that Li Qian is grieving and that she has been suffering from long-term depression. She's also malnourished and has low blood pressure, so her reaction was extreme. He has given her a sedative and recommends she be kept in the hospital for observation. Shenwei completes the inpatient procedure for her, and the two men and cat combo stays at Li Qian's bedside until sunset. Still, not a single one of her family members has shown up. Go Chang-chung softly asks, Professor Shen, are none of her family members coming? Shenwei doesn't know what to say and only sighs. Go Chang-chung sits beside Li Qian on the edge of the bed, and he suddenly realizes why she attempted suicide. She has lost perhaps the only person who cared for her in the world. Now, no one supports or loves her anymore. And so, the night falls. End of chapter 11. Oh, poor Li Qian. She's grieving for her grandmother who just recently passed away, and her other family members don't seem to really care about her own situation. Like, she has depression right now. No one wants to come pick her up from the hospital. That's terrible. Even her own parents. And Go Chang-chung is also going through it. He's also thinking about his own grandmother who passed. But he seems to be taking it a lot better. And look, he did really good. He managed to talk to her in complete sentences without freaking out. So, you know, his social anxiety, he's really working on it. What a good kid. Go Chang-chung is a really good kid. You know, he's not incompetent. He's just a little slow. And, you know, once you train him properly, he's actually really good and really helpful. And then if you watch the drama, you know how much he ends up being cherished by the rest of the SIU. So, you know, Go Chang-chung, you got this. Okay, let's continue on with chapter 12. That part, rewind it. After getting rid of Go Chang-chung, the first thing Zhao Yunlan has done is drive back to number 4 Bright Avenue. He's gone straight into his office and started reviewing the surveillance footage in detail. The office is a lot less busy during daytime. There's only one female officer working. She looks to be in her 20s, wearing light makeup, with her hair in a cleanly combed ponytail, revealing her beautiful face. Her eyes are drooping and visibly tired. Even so, her hands are working very fast. She wears a uniform top, but her legs are covered by a long and thick blanket. She sits very still, and if her cheeks weren't a healthy rosy color, one would think she was recovering from a serious illness. The blanket really is quite long, trailing along the floor. Zhao Yunlan accidentally steps on it and it slides to the side. A giant python tail wriggles out and quickly retreats beneath it. She doesn't even look away from the video, only pulls the blanket back up and keeps working. The nameplate on her desk reads Zhuhong. The footage is blurry. There seems to be some interference, maybe by a magnetic field. There's not much to be seen. After all, the crime scene is located in a small alley next to a side entrance to the university grounds, and the camera is installed at the big intersection of University Road. Only a short section of the alley where Lo Rumei and Li Qian met is even in the frame. The time on the video is 10:20 p.m. True to her statement, Li Qian is seen approaching from the direction of the university and entering a small supermarket across the street. After 5 minutes, she exits the supermarket again and passes by Lu Romei and greets her. The video is paused at the moment when Lu Romei crosses the street and is about to enter the small alley. Li Qian is glancing at her, and due to the bad quality of the recording, her expression is not very clear. But then she stumbles backwards in obvious shock. Zhu Hong stares at the screen for a moment, her drooping eyes widen to reveal vertical pupils. The snake eyes on a human face look very strange. Is she looking at something under the streetlight? Zhao Yunlan nods. Can we take a closer look at that light? Zhu Hong tries to zoom in on the image, but it doesn't get any clearer. Sorry, that's all I can do. I'll send you on a staff development course for a couple of days. You've got to improve your technological skills. Zhu Hong slaps her thigh. That's gonna take at least 2 years. I get like this for 3 days every month. How would I explain taking leave so often? Zhao Yunlan says shamelessly, can't you just say you have menstrual cramps, stupid woman? Zhao Yunlan, low-key misogynistic? Huh? After a moment, Zhu Hong says, you always destroy my beautiful fantasies about you, Chief. If you know I'm your chief, then you'd better not be fantasizing. Zhao Yunlan smacks her head lightly. Or don't you want your bonus? Zhu Hong's pupils contract even further as she licks her lips with a long forked tongue. If you sleep with me, I'll even give up my salary and work for you for free. Ah, she has the hots for the chief. Zhao Yunlan looks down and says with an insincere smile. Really? Zhu Hong stares at him. She suddenly realizes that there's a good possibility her shameless chief would actually agree to something like that. Flirting with your boss at work, Zhao Yunlan laughs. You're really something, Comrade Zhu Hong. I think you should take some of the citizenship training sessions the department offers. They might improve your thinking. Zhu Hong wishes she had kept her mouth shut and quickly changes the subject. If the CCTV didn't get it, it probably didn't want to be seen, unless the girl has the third eye. She probably only saw it because she touched the sundial. Zhao Yunlan taps his fingers lightly on the desk. I know about the Wheel of Reincarnation. It's attached to a sundial and engraved with philosophical quotes. I thought it was symbolic and didn't have much practical use. What's special about it? When you mentioned an ancient sundial this afternoon, I thought of it instantly. Zhu Hong opens the drawer under her desk and takes out an old-fashioned wire-bound ledger. I borrowed this from the underworld. You can have a closer look yourself. It says that the back of the sundial is made from shattered pieces of the stone of reincarnation. And the scales on the back are from a fish in the river of forgetfulness, 3 feet and 3 inches long, with ventral fins as hard as crystal that all point in the same direction. Zhao Yunlan nods, signaling her to continue. Zhu Hong opens the ledger. They say when Pangu created the universe and separated yin and yang, the road to the underworld and the river of forgetfulness were the only boundaries between the two realms. Afterwards, life flourished and increased in numbers, so the gates of the underworld were created to better manage life and death. Long before the gates existed, the 4 mystical artifacts were created, but are now lost in different parts of the world. The sundial of reincarnation is one of them. Zhu Hong's long fingers flip through the pages and stop at Sundial of Reincarnation, where there's something else written in small handwritten letters, Lifespan Transfer. Lifespan Transfer? Zhao Yunlan frowns, and thinks of the weird new ghost that was following Li Qian around. What about Li Qian? I asked you to check. Does she know anyone who died less than a week ago? Yes, her grandmother died at the end of August. Zhao Yunlan leans backwards and lazily lights a cigarette. That must be why the old lady was appearing in broad daylight. She had borrowed life energy from the Stone of Reincarnation. I knew Li Qian was lying. She used the sundial to extend her grandmother's life. Thanks to her. The Sundial of Reincarnation stands for the course of the sun, rising in the morning, setting in the evening, and the fins of the black fish in the river of forgetfulness all grow in the same direction. Only the older can transfer their life to the younger. I've never heard of it being the other way around. Chief Zhao, have you? Suddenly, a piece of rice paper appears in the air in front of her. She reaches out, and the paper gently floats into her palm. It has Li Qian's name and horoscope readings on it. Under that, there are 2 rows of scrawled, barely decipherable handwriting. Zhu Hong says, I had the underworld check her out. It says here that Li Qian's destined time of death was altered. Her life was shortened, not lengthened. Zhao Yunlan raises his eyebrows. Sundial, sundial, turn around, 3 times around the stone. Half my life and half of yours, born apart will die as one, Zhu Hong recites. What that means is, if you have the sundial of reincarnation, you can use half your remaining lifespan to raise someone back from the dead. and afterwards you and that person will die together when that time comes. 2 years ago, Li Qian's grandmother should have died, so she used half her life to bring her grandmother back. Zhao Yunlan listened silently. I checked her background when you didn't come back. Although Li Qian was born in the city, she didn't grow up here. I called the administration of the village where she was registered, and they told me that she used to live with her grandmother, who raised her ever since she was little. I guess her parents were working a lot and didn't have time for her. She also had a younger brother. Since at that time the one-child policy was very strict, having a second child meant... You know. Zhao Yunlan nods, and Zhu Hong continues. 2 years ago, her grandmother had a stroke. The doctors thought her a terminal case, but she recovered miraculously. Afterwards, though, she was still in poor health and diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Maybe because of nerve damage because of the stroke. She forgot more and more, and her condition worsened, but nobody realized that she had dementia. Only when Li Qian got admitted to university 6 months ago, her parents finally had no choice but to take them back in. So Li Qian exchanged life for her grandmother when she had the stroke. Zhao Yunlan flicked away some ashes. She was living in her mother's old home at the time and happened to find an old heirloom. That makes sense, but I don't see why it's so hard to say about this. Why lie to me? Maybe there's a catch. Zhu Hong turns her chair around, leans her elbow on the back, and fixes Zhao Yunlan with a gaze. Her normally frightening, cold reptile's eyes look unusually gentle. Think about it. If there's a person you love enough to sacrifice half your life for them, but somehow you lose them again while they're right there, how would you feel? Zhao Yunlan frowns blandly and hesitates. He's unmoved by this tragic story and only thinking long and hard until he can find something suspicious. Zhu Hong wonders who of them is the cold-blooded animal and sighs. Zhao Yunlan shrugs. All right, Snake Lady, tell me what you think. Li Qian always buys things online, mostly healthcare products for the elderly. She doesn't have a lot of money, mostly income from tutoring and running errands for lecturers. Other girls want to beautify themselves and show off their looks, but she rarely buys anything for herself, so I think she's a great kid. If it's not directly related to the case, you don't absolutely have to know, do you? The things she buys online can't prove anything. Sometimes, when you don't love someone anymore, you'll use money to compensate. Zhu Hong stares at him, with a face that says, "You heartless, cold-blooded monster." What an insult coming from a snake. All right, fine, Zhao Yunlan says. Let's say you're right. She exchanged half her life for her grandmother. Why, then, is she still alive now that her grandmother is dead? That could be an accident. Maybe the old lady died before her time was up. Lin Jing sent me a list of missing souls. I checked, and the grandmother isn't on the list. She's still hanging around up here. It's likely the underworld doesn't know about her yet. Her soul is linked to the living by the sundial, so the underworld guards never noticed her. Zhao Yunlan pauses for a thought. Zhu Hong asks, what? I suddenly thought of something. Li Qian and Lo Romei look quite similar. They have similar figures and hairstyles. From behind, a stranger would find it hard to tell them apart, and they were wearing the same t-shirt that day. And Lo Romei happened to die just after running into Li Qian. Think about it. Li Qian used the sundial, so her body had to be tainted with the smell of the mystical artifact from the underworld. If that really had the power to avoid an underworld guard's detection, then the escaped prisoner... You're saying the hungry ghost target was supposed to be Li Qian? Dun 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 dun. End of chapter 12. So, to recap chapter 12, Zhao Yunlan goes back to SIU headquarters and asks Zhu Hong, the snake employee, to tell him what she looked up about Li Qian. So he finds out also that Li Qian's grandmother passed away recently, and that she probably used the sundial reincarnation to swap and extend her grandmother's life in exchange for some of her own life years. However, the grandmother still ended up dying, but Li Qian is still alive. How could that be? Supposedly, if you use the sundial reincarnation, both people, the person whose life was extended and the person whose life was cut short, should both die at the same time. But Li Qian is still alive. Also, Li Qian managed to avoid the underworld guard, so it looks like the poor girl Lu Romei was accidentally murdered when Li Qian was the actual original target. Poor girl, wrong place, wrong time, having to look the similar way with the same hairstyle and same outfit. This poor girl, I hope her soul rests in peace. Dang. And she was killed so brutally too. Like her intestines were cut out and stuff. Anyway, Li Qian has a lot that she's not telling us, guys. There's a lot more to this story than she's letting on. She's not as innocent as we think she is. Or she's not as innocent as she's making herself out to be. But we're gonna have to wait until the next read-along to hopefully find out. I hope you guys enjoyed today's read-along, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!